Hello everyone, you're welcome to Kharis tutorials on Africa TV. I'm Simeon Grace. Today I'll be taking us in how to sew a wedding dress. First we'll be going about how to cut it, and it's going to be an off-shoulder wedding gown, a mermaid gown precisely, and we'll be needing the measurements of the underbust, the knee length and the full length of our wedding gown. Also, we'll be needing the round shoulder measurement. We'll be needing the shoulder measurement as well as the sleeve measurement and the round sleeve. We'll also be needing the bust measurement, the under bust circumference. We'll need the waist measurement and the hip measurement. In these tutorials, we need to consume fabrics, and the fabrics we'll be using are the bridal lace, the bridal satin. In that case, you can use any of the satin, the bridal, doll face, anyone. But I'll be using doll face satin. Also, we'll be needing a lining. We'll be needing a veil net. We'll be needing hard nets that will be used in the steps of the gathered parts of our mermaid gown. Also, we'll be needing our hairstay, and we'll be making use of boning in this tutorial. We need a cord, and it's not going to have a zip at the back, so we'll be making use of the cord. We'll create a loop to make use of the cord at the back of our wedding gown. That's all we'll be needing for this tutorial. I'm sure you will enjoy it. So let's move to the cutting table. Okay, so getting our materials ready, we need the lace material. This is the bridal lace. We need the satin, the bridal satin. We need the lining. This is my hairstay, the ready-made cup. This is the veil net, and this is the hard net or inner net. We have it called different names depending on where you have. And this is my boning. So these are the materials I will be using for this wedding dress. Also, I have here my cord. So let's move on to the cutting. To fold our fabric, I'm folding with the hip measurement. The hip measurement is 44. So 44 plus 8 divided by 4 is 13 inches. It's the same as 44 divided by 4 plus 2 inches. So to all my circumference measurements, I'll be adding 8 inches and I'll divide by 4. So the highest measurement is what I'm folding with, which is the hip measurement. I have 44 and that is 13 inches. Now I'm going to add extra 2 inches to it because it's padded. So I'm folding 15 inches. I have my 15 inches. The knee length is 35 inches. Since it's an off-shoulder dress, I'm subtracting 4, that's minus 4. Then I'll add just 1 inch to the length, and that is 36 inches. That's 36. So from my 4, I'm going to continue my measurement. I have 8.5 inches for the bust, and I have 14 inches, which is the under bust measurements. The first thing I'm going to do here is to hide my 2 inches. The extra 2 inches we added to the folding. First, I'm going to hide it. It's 2 inches. So we can just move on in our measurements from here. We have the shoulder measurement of 15 inches 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. 7.5 inches, and I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches from the shoulder measurement. That is 6 inches. The bust measurement is 40. 40 inches plus 8 divided by 4. That's 12 inches. This is my under bust measurement. So after it, I'm going to take the under bust circumference measurement, and that is 36 inches. 36 plus 8 divided by 4 is 11 inches. I'm going to take the hip measurement from the under bust circumference measurement. You can just measure down 6 inches to get the area where you're going to measure the waist measurement. And the waist also is 40 inches plus 8 divided by 4, 12 inches. The hip measurement, that's 13 inches. 44 plus 8 divided by 4. The base of my dress, I'm going to subtract, this is 13 inches, so I'm just going to subtract 1 inch, and that is 12 inches. So I'm going to link out the measurement from the shoulder to the bust. So this is the bust, from the bust to the under bust measurement. Sorry. To the waist. To the hip. So first, I'm going to cut out this. So I'm going to unfold my 2 inches. The nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches. And to get 8, it means I'm going to fold 4 inches. So I'm adding 1 inch to the folding. That means I'm going to fold 5 inches. Our dress is going to have a boning. So I'm going to add ½ inch to this. I'm not going to cut it out. It's meant for my seam allowance. So now I have 5.5 inches. So let's take the measurements. From the base of my dress, I'm going to take 4.5 inches because of the ½ inch I added to it. So I'm going to add the ½ inch to all the measurements. I'm bringing my 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches. Now this is the under bust measurement. From the under bust to the nipple point is 3.5 inches. You can always take this measurement. So here I'm going to leave my ½ inch, the ½ inch I added to the measurements. And from the neck region, I'm going to take 3.5 inches. So plus the half, I have 4 inches. So from the neck to the nipple point, from the nipple point to the under bust, then straight down. Let's cut. Alright, so coming to the middle now, I'm going to bring out the depth. Remember, it's still minus 4 inches. So the depth is 6.5 inches. And always measure the depth of your choice. So I have 6.5 inches here. And on the other side, I'm going to measure just 5.5 inches. And I want a sweetheart's neck. This is the front. So what I have here, I'm just going to place my lace to cut it out. But first, let's cut out the back. So to the back folding, still folding with the highest measurement of 13 inches, I'll be adding just 1 inch to the 13, and that will be 14 inches. It's not going to have a zip. So first, we're going to take the length, that's minus 4 and 36 inches. You can actually place the front on this to cut it out, and I'm just going to hide my 1 inch. And from here, I'll take my measurements. The shoulder, 6 inches, that's 7.5 minus 1.5, 6 inches. We have 8.5 for the armhole, 14 inches as the under bust measurement. The bust, 12 inches from our measurement. The under bust circumference, 11 inches. The waist measurement, 12 inches. The hip, 13 inches. And the base, 12 inches. That's 13 minus 1. So let's cut. So from my 1 inch, I'm going to measure just 3.5 inches. Remember our 1 inch. Okay, maybe I should just hide the 1 inch. Let me just hide the 1 inch and can understand better. So from here, I'm going to take 3.5 inches. You can actually take 4 inches, that's half inch seam allowance, but I need 3.5 inches as the measurement, so I'll add half inch seam allowance to that. So 4 inches, 4 inches. I'm going to cut this straight to the neck, 4 inches. And I'm going to cut this. The depth of the neck, of the back, you can actually leave it this way. And if you still want it to come down a bit, you can cut it out. So I'll just measure 7 inches. 7 inches. And I'll trace it out. And just do so, like, yeah. So to continue this, I'm just going to divide the back into 2. I'm going to divide this into 2. Okay, I don't want to cut it out completely, so I won't start looking for where to place it. So this is it. The next one I'm cutting out now is going to cover this from beneath. This is where I'm attaching my rope, so I need something to cover it since it's not going to have a zip. So that's the one I'm cutting out now. And remember, we have minus 7 inches already. From the neck, we have minus 7 inches. So the remaining length is what I'm going to measure. Also, I measured 3.5 inches. I only added my seam allowance of half inch. So 7 inches is what I'm going to measure out. So I'll be adding my 1.5 inches for seam allowance on this. So this will be 8.5. That's the width. 8.5 inches. And minus 7 inches. The length of my dress is 36 inches. So I'll add my seam allowance of 1 inch. I have 37 inches. So I'm going to measure out 8.5 inches. So it's coming this way. It's going to cover the space from behind, since it's not going to have a zip, so that once I fix my rope, there won't be access to view the body. So that's the back. Also, I'm going to place my bridal lace to cut out exactly what I have here. I'm placing my bridal lace to do that as well. So we've come to the end of the back cutting. I'm placing the front first to cut. All I just need to do is place my satin on my lace to cut exactly what I have. That's the front. I'm also going to place the back to cut out. So, placing the back to cut. Yes, for the back. The next thing we're going to cut is just the upper lace. That's the half length of the dress, and that's the lace part. I'm going to use the lace to cut that. Then we'll move on to cutting the sleeve. So to do that, we're going to fold our fabric into two. I'll be folding using the shoulder measurement, and the length is 7 inches. The length is 7 inches, and the shoulder measurement is 15. So 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Remember, it's an off shoulder, so I'm going to subtract 1.5 from my 7.5. Let's fold. So it's an off shoulder, so I'm going to subtract 4 inches from the length, and I'm going to add my seam allowance. I'll make it 9 inches. 9 inches. Since the length now has extended to 9 inches, I'm going to fold with the bust measurement, so I can bring out the armhole from the bust area, and the bust folding is 12 inches from our calculation, 12 inches, and we have the shoulder measurement of 6 inches. So I'm just going to trace it out to the bust area. Going to cut here first. Now, before I cut this part, I'm going to bring the middle part. So I'm going to bring this folded into two. Yeah. So I'm going to trace this shape from here. I'm going to trace it out before cutting it out straight. I'm going to trace out my sweetheart neck. Yeah. Then I'll continue my cutting. This is what I have. Just like this. Just like this. So, cutting out the sleeve. Okay, let's use this to cut out the back. I don't need to add seam allowance to the back, so I'm not adding any zip allowance. I'll just fold. Place this. Now this is the shoulder. Remember I said I'm not adding any zip allowance to this. So this is the shoulder measurements. And the back shape, let me just bring out this armhole. Okay. The shape from the back is kind of curved. Look at it. A curved shape. So I'm just going to place this as well. I'm going to trace out this shape from the back, then I'll continue the cutting. This is for the back, and I'm going to divide into two. Cutting out the sleeve, we have the round sleeve measurement of 14 inches. Divided by 2 is 7, plus 3 is 10. So I'm folding 10 inches. 10 inches. So the length is 7, plus 1 inch folding allowance is 8 inches. Round sleeve 14 divided by 2, 7, plus my seam allowance of 1 inch. I have 8 inches. Going to measure down 4 inches, and from there I'll bring it down, slanting it down to my round sleeve measurement. The round shoulder measurement is 44 inches. And from the front and back, the main bodies that we cut, we measured 6, that's we folded 6 for the shoulder. That's by the time we unfold, we have 12. So the front is 12, the back is 12, that is 24 inches in total. And the round shoulder measurement is 44 inches. So 24 inches from our main fabric minus, we'll subtract it from the 44 inches, we are left with 20 inches. So to get 20 inches, that means one sleeve will take 10 inches and the other sleeve will take 10 inches. To get my 10 inches, I'm going to measure 5 inches plus half inch allowance. That's my seam allowance. I have 5.5 inches. So I'm going to bring out this shape all through to my 4 inches. I'm going to place this for the other sleeve. So that's the sleeve. Cutting out the base of our dress, the full length is 62 inches and we've cut out 35 inches, that's the half length. So we have 27 inches left. Now the hip measurement is 44 inches, and cutting out the base, I have my fabric folded into two first, then bringing out my triangle shape. I'm cutting out a flare. Now that my fabric is folded into 4, that means the hip measurement is to be divided by 4, that is 11 inches. I'm going to gather my flare, so I need excess. I need more than 11 inches. So what I'll be having on this part, the part where I'm attaching to the main dress, is going to be more than 11 inches. The length of 27 inches. I'll add just half inch to the length for my sewing. So (27.5 inches). Going to take the measurements from here. I have 21, so I'm taking 21 round. 21 inches. 21 inches. And the length of 27.5 inches. So I'm going to cut this out. Next is cutting out my hard net, and to do that I'm just going to cut out a straight material together, and you can be sure to have as many steps of hard net as you like. I'll be adding 3 steps of this hard net to my wedding dress. 3 steps. So to form my gather, I'm going to use 5 yards. I'll be using 5 yards to form each of it, and I'll be cutting out 3 steps. The length, I'm going to reduce the length of my hard net. It's not going to be equal with the length of the dress, so I'll just make it the length of 24 inches. So I have 24 by the yards. You can actually use 4 yards, 3 yards, depending on your choice anyway. So let's cut. So this is one step. I'm going to gather all this one. I'm going to gather this 2. And I'm also going to gather this 3. So that's my hard net. The next thing I'm going to cut now is the veil net. Cutting out the veil net, I'll be needing more than the length of 27 inches. It's going to be outside. So I'm going to measure 30 inches. 30 inches. That's exactly what I have here. And I'm going to have 2 steps of veil net. So I'm just going to divide this into 2. I'm using 4 yards to gather this. 4 yards. Okay, so I have one step and 2 steps. So the next thing I'm going to cut is a lining, and also I'm going to make that just 2 steps. Cutting out the lining, first I'm going to cut the lining for the half length before cutting the base. So to do that, I'm just going to place all my fabric. I'm going to place it one after the other to cut out the lining. So The same way I've cut out my lining for the half length, I'm also going to place the fabric on my stay to cut it out. So this is my stay. The same thing, I'm just going to place my fabric on it and I'll cut it out. Here's the front. Just place your fabric to cut out both the stay and the lining. So I'm done cutting this. Go back to the lining. So the length of the lining, since our main dress is 27 inches, I'm going to make this 26 inches. 26 inches. And remember, I'm cutting 2 steps for this. 2 steps of lining. Wow, finally we've come to the end of our cutting. I'm sure you enjoyed the class. It was fun anyway. You can get more of our online tutorials on YouTube at Africa TV, and you can also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at Africa TV. And you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram as well at Kharis Kreations. The next video you're going to see is the sewing of our wedding dress. Let's move on.